stuff. Special event today, the Arnold 2025 unfinished business. Got my guy Lucas here, so it's just he and I in the library. Going to talk about 3 days ago, the Arnold over in Columbus, Ohio. It's my third time going there, fourth time in Columbus for events, and we're going to get into that. But ran into a bunch of people, former guests on the show, a lot of shout outs. So Kyle Moran, first and foremost, I think he had 16 lifters. One of them, Lucas, he's episode 33. Ran into Strongman Doc, Todd McDougall. He's working on all the strong men and women and the powerlifters, all the pros. He's episode 16. Jeremy Hartman, outstanding coach. He had lifters competing all weekend. He's episode 56 in powerlifting. Chad Coy, pro strongman, Parisi's master class or master coach, episode 48. He's coaching a pro and strongman. Then we had Mary Tyson Lappin. She's competing. She's episode 68, set a new American record in weightlifting. I want to say she snatched 120, which is 265. I think she clean and jerked 150 or 160, which is around 330, 340 pounds. Set a new record there. And then Rebecca Rouse, she was with the Gym Reapers. She was episode 23. And she just won the Texas State Finals. Talked to her, met her. So it was great meeting up with those folks, catching up with them. Went by a bunch of places. But our guy, my co-host here, Lucas, had unfinished business. I'll let him tell the story, but he competed in weightlifting out there a little while back and then felt he had more to do. So, Lucas, let's just start with what was the unfinished business? What brought you back to the Arnold 2025?
So I competed at the Arnold in 2019. I was a senior in college. Me and my buddies were always just training. We qualified. We did some meets together, and we qualified for the Arnold. My buddies were my coaches. None of us had any real Olympic lifting experience, but they were my coaches, and we did it kind of for fun. Went there and bombed out. So went there, hit my snatches, and then didn't hit a single clean and jerk. And after that, I was like, man, I'm gonna get back here and do it again. And then I graduated and kind of traveled around working at other schools and real life, and just didn't compete or really train in the weightlifting as routinely, and just kind of wanted to get back into it. And I've always wanted to go back and try it again and do it and do better and just do my best. And that's kind of what the unfinished business is, and we got it done this time. So nice. It didn't bomb out.
Love it. The Arnold, obviously named after Arnold Schwarzenegger. I actually saw him this weekend, and it is an absolute zoo in Columbus. When COVID hit in 2020, I was there. It was essentially empty, just the athletes. And since then, it's been building back up, and people were saying that this year in 25, it's like it was back in 19. So all of downtown Columbus is underwater with people. The entire convention center, there are events everywhere. There's amateur and pro Olympic lifting, amateur and pro strongman, amateur and pro powerlifting. There's CrossFit, amateur and pro bodybuilding. 1,000 vendors, right? There's foosball, fencing, gymnastics, anything where people are doing some things that are athletic. Most of them are competing inside the convention center in the main halls, but also in the other halls. Sometimes in the hallways, that's the warm-up area. Then there's venues around downtown. They're using those too. So it's all over the place. Anyone that does any kind of lifting, they had a CrossFit Open going. It's just a nut house. So my guy Lucas, he's with USA Weightlifting, amateur weightlifting, working his way up. And for those who don't know, it's the snatch and the clean and jerk. You get 3 attempts at each. If you make a weight in the first 3 attempts, you have a score for your snatch. Then you need to make at least 1 weight in your clean and jerk. Then you have a score for your clean and jerk. Add those highest scores together. That's your total. One with the highest total wins. And so, Lucas, what did you snatch? Let's start there. What did you snatch this past weekend?
I completed 121.
121. How much is that in pounds?
266.
Nice. And how much did you weigh?
I weighed light. I came in at 86 kilos. So what is that? I was just at 190 or just slightly under.
And then you snatch another 70, 75 pounds on top of your body weight. Awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
your clean and jerk followed up with that.
Yeah, I hit 152, which is 334.
Geez, geez. So 76 total athletes in your weight class, the men's open. They have age groups too, like 30 and up, 30 to 35, 35, 40, etc. They got juniors, for the younger guys. But in the open, where anyone can go, as long as you're in the weight class, there were 76 athletes that could compete and finish top 10.
Finished top 10.
Top 10.
I got third. I had the third highest total in the B session.
So in your flight, in your group of about 12, 13 people, you were third
Yeah,
overall, right?
third overall, and we had a Pan Am's champion in my session, so that was fun.
Impressive,
It
right?
was fun to see. It was
That kid, I
kind
think,
of
was 19 years old,
yeah, a little humbling for sure.
moving a lot of weight.
Snatching he's snatching my clean and jerk opener, so it's
Humbling.
very humbling. That's the thing about the Arnold that the last time I was there, it wasn't nearly as intense as this time around. I was like in a C session. I wasn't in a B session, or I was in a lower session. But the guys I was competing up against this time, and it was a different level of competition. And what's crazy about the Arnold is it's not like a world's meet or a national meet where you're going to be probably going against guys relatively against around your skill level, or maybe your whatever it is. You're going to have you gotta have the best in the world, and then you're gonna have beginners all in the same building, kind of training in the same training hall, uh, sometimes competing on the same stage. In my case, you know, it was just wild to go through that experience and seeing how that works, because it's it's not like a local meet. It's uh, I was just talking about it earlier. We had I was in the back helping my training partner Victor load, and loading on the same platform as a two-time Olympian. Like, what
It's wild.
it's it's a weird feeling being around that caliber of athlete, and they're everywhere. They're all back there,
Hmm.
and then you're around high caliber coaches that are, Olympic coaches, and it's just a different experience that was just so. I mean, it was one of the best environments I've ever been around. It was so
Hmm.
cool.
I was talking to people at the gym today at Unbreakable, and they're asking like, "Hey, how was the Arnold? What was it like?" I said, "You know what it was? There were all these amateurs that were okay or good or
Hmm.
even great, and then there are these pros, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all laying it out there in front of a ton of people. Live, it's streamed live or videoed, and it's everywhere, and it's all over social media. They're all doing the same thing. They're putting it all out there in front of God and everybody, doing their best, and they're all hitting personal records or dying trying, and they're
Yeah.
just doing great things, trying to live out their vision, their dreams, the best version of themselves. So I'm like, it's just cool to be around. And someone said, "Oh, Jim, you all fired up, ready to start lifting heavy again?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not really allowed to do that." But so it kind of made me a bit sad,
Yeah.
honestly, because I'm walking around. I'm like, I was judging over there at nationals. I was judging at Strongman. I was doing those weights, and I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
shit." But it was just cool. It was just cool, and for sure humbling, for
Hmm.
sure humbling experience. But you meet great people, and a lot of them are very approachable. Definitely not all. You can tell they have security details, all wrapped around Thor, which you might expect. But cool people, you can go up and talk to them, and just ask them questions, and
Yeah.
a lot of fun there.
It was interesting because um, being there, kind of when I was in the training hall, doing my lift the day before. I see CJ Cummings over getting ready to train on his platform.
Dang.
Medina, who's on the U.S. team, like they're training on the platform like over across from ours. So like I'm around these guys that are on the U.S. team and they're qualifying for the Olympics, and I just feel completely out of place. Like at one point I'm out there like doing my light lift for the day. I'm like I don't feel in place. I don't feel comfortable, but like the second we get back in the back, start warming up, and we get on the platform, like that whole mindset just kind of went out of the, just disappeared because it was about me doing my best. Obviously, I wanted to try to place as high as I could. You always, you're anybody that tries to be a competitor or wants to compete, you have that drive in you. But it was all about my goal from the beginning, which was do my very best and to complete the freaking Arnold. To get a score at the Arnold, do my best at the Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was the whole goal. And as soon as I got out there, that went away, and it felt like game day. If I had the same feeling that I got back when I was, playing football, and it was the same feeling, and all that I don't belong here kind of went away, which was relieving, but it became way more fun.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing how, for so many people, that imposter syndrome creeps in and you think you're not worthy. But
hmm
you look around and you're like, I've done the things. So whenever there's that downtime leading up to an event, you start getting in your head, or people do,
yeah,
you start questioning, right? That's why when you track your wins, hey, I did all these things. These are my numbers. And then there's where like a little confidence should start battling its way back up that, hey, I earned the right to be here. And then, like you said, in football, you have that first hit, or there's that first pitch in baseball, or there's the tip off in basketball, or whatever. Once the game starts going for you, like once you start doing your warm ups, now you're in your routine and it now feels familiar. You're doing all the things you know you can do. And
yeah,
you're like, oh, all right, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
yeah.
And then the coach is like, hey, man, here's what we're going to focus on. Here's your cue. This is what we want. Go out and execute.
It's funny because like um, I went for I PR'd. So to back up, I PR'd, and every lift I hit was a comp PR. I've lifted more before in training, but I've never hit those numbers in comp. I went for a 125 snatch, which would have been a personal PR and a comp PR. Then I went for a 162, which is a kind of a funny story, but I went for a 162 clean and jerk, which would have been um, a personal PR and a comp PR.
Yep.
So I didn't hit my last snatch, and I was super pissed. And it was Kyle and Victor, got the guys in the back, Grant, that were like, okay, snatch is over, let's move on. And having those guys in the back, and that goes to having great teammates. We talk about all the time, and having great teammates, having a coach. They were like, hey, we got a clean and jerk to do. Let's go focus on that, and immediately just started focus on the clean and jerk. But fast forward to the clean and jerk, I go for my last one, and I failed my second one, which I don't know how. It just was a little bit a little bit forward, and there was no way I was going to be able to win the fight to get it up. So dump it. I opened up at 152, then went to 158. Got kind of buried in the clean and jerk, couldn't get it up, and then it was sitting in the back, like, oh shit, okay, here we go. It's what we're going to do. I didn't know I was in a position to qualify for the American the finals, um, which never was a goal, never was
Target.
a target, never wasn't a thought in my brain. So
Mm-hmm.
Kyle comes up to me and is like, hey, do you want to go for a personal best, or do you want to try to qualify for finals? And immediately I'm like, well, I got nothing else to lose. I didn't bomb out, so I already won. I already PR'd, so I already won. I ain't got nothing to lose. Let's just try to qualify for finals and let's go for it. So we go from 158 to 162, which is 358. Never put that above my head before, so it's an uncharted area for me. So I go out there, and after getting buried on the clean, somehow pull that thing up, get underneath it, stand it up, and barely missed the jerk. Just couldn't quite get all the way underneath it. But I'm super pissed coming off, super mad because I missed it. And I'm talking with Kyle in the back. He's this is one thing that Kyle was so good about was, hey man, be mad and be pissed off all you want for 5 minutes, but you got to think about all the wins and the process that you just went through to get into this position. He's like, you haven't trained Olympic lifting in 4 or 5 years. You haven't trained for it. You haven't really, you know, I hit a total PR by 6 kilos for my last comp. Um, my qualifying competition. So, once I started thinking about all the process and the journey to this point, and started counting all my wins and what I gained from all this, that was the one thing Kyle really, my coach, he just did a great job. Was like, hey, just be mad for 5 minutes. That's okay. But dude, like you just trained for 6 months for this. We could imagine what you can do in a year and in 2 years, and think about your wins and what you can do and what is now open for you, and I just can't thank him enough for that, because that was ended up being one of the best experiences of my life in any kind of sporting event that I've ever been to or been at. It was just awesome.
He mentioned that clean the third one, you actually, you stood up with it and just missed the jerk.
Yeah.
He said you hadn't cleaned that before. Is that right?
No.
So that's a whole PR like you never even tried in your life.
Yeah.
In the intro in my book, I'm talking about Mateus, that German lifter, right?
Yeah.
He had to clean something that was more than he'd ever done in his life, and you just did the exact same thing. You never even attempted it, and bar moved fast, technique was sound. You're underneath it. You grind through the squat, get up. I'm like, oh, I watched. I was like, that's going to take a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh shit. Well, here we go. And if he can get it up and back, not in front, he'll be all right. But you also mentioned like the wins. About a month ago, we're talking outside the podcast, because usually you and I will hang out before or after, and we're talking about getting ready and stuff. I said, you did bodybuilding about a year ago and won everything. You dialed in your nutrition and your recovery. I go, that's what we talk about. We talk about the 6 things here all the time on the show.
Yeah.
Are you doing those things? And you're like, oh, let me think about that. Let me get into that and let me start applying it. Talk about what happened in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
You started focusing on some of the things outside of lifting, out of the training, the nutrition and recovery stuff. Talk about how that played out in your training, the wins there, and how it affected you on game day.
Yeah, man. I was feeling. I've been throughout the whole process. I've been a lot, pretty dialed in. But there, about a month ago, I just wasn't eating enough, and I don't think I just wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't taking care of my body outside of, I just really wasn't taking care of my body, really. I wasn't prioritizing my meals. I wasn't making sure I was getting enough calories in, the right calories, and training was just very grueling at the time. And I just didn't want to do it. And, I wasn't sleeping well. I had a hard time. My night routine was kind of all over the place. I didn't have a downtime. I wasn't applying a downtime for myself. But, I remember after we talked, I was like, man, I got to get my food up, because I started feeling it. My body I was feeling the fatigue. I knew I wasn't eating enough, because I was just getting pain. I was just tired, and I was getting pain more often. I just wasn't recovering. I was just staying in pain. And I was like, I knew I needed to fix my nutrition, and it wasn't necessarily what I was eating, because I don't eat bad. I just wasn't eating enough. I knew I probably had to increase my carbs, because I wasn't eating enough carbs. So got that squared away. Got my meals under wraps. I was started eating 5 times a day, eating good, routinely, always having a snack or a protein shake on top of my meals that I would have throughout the day. My hydration was better. I always had my water with me, and I was being diligent about my water. I always have a jug with me, but I'm not always, I drink out of it when I'm thirsty, But it was making sure I'm hydrated enough to train and recover and all that. And then my night routine was just kind of all over the place. I didn't have a time to settle down and just kind of relax. I'll watch a movie, and then I'll get into the movie or whatever. and those kind of things, I really had to just say, I'm going to bed at this time. And I was like, I'm going to be in bed at 9:30 consistently. That way I can be asleep by 10:30 at least. and I started getting out into wraps. I bought a journal, habit tracking journal. Got the journal, started writing in it, getting everything squared away, and you know, I just started having really great training sessions after that. I started feeling better about, um, you know, getting up in the morning. I wasn't in so much pain. I wasn't so tired in the mornings. I wasn't so exhausted. I could get through the work day and go train at the end of the day. Um, so once I got that dialed in and under wraps, I knew I needed to do it to be, to have a good meet, So I got that fixed away, and I was able to, do my best. Even though I still, in the back of my head, I know I probably left some on the table. Um, I could have done better. I think I could have hit my last lifts. But that's something for me, it's definitely a reflecting on what I did well and what I didn't do well. Um, and that's just part of competition, and being in the mix like that is, you're going to learn something from it regardless whether or not you do well. So, um, but yeah, dude, the nutrition part and the sleep part was lacking, and I got it fixed, and I did the best I could.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. We normally record Monday nights, sometimes Tuesdays, and I'm hanging out and talking to you before one of our shows, and I'm like, you're telling me all this. I'm like, damn it, dude, are you not getting it? And but from that point on, every time I'd say, hey man, how you doing? How you feeling? You go, man, I feel great.
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
great.
yeah,
And it's funny because not that I'm something special, but I just took an outside third party to point it out to you. Hey, you need to dial in these other things, pal. Along those lines, I'm at Ohio State a couple years ago for this conference for coaches, and they have one of the Stoops brothers, the head coach at Kentucky, and he's talking about after the games because he was in the Army, and it's not necessarily just an Army thing, but all the coaches and athletes fill out an AAR. I'm like, I remember that. That's right out of corporate world as well. After action report. It's a debrief. You come back from a battle, what's the debrief? You come back from a sales call with the debrief. You finish a new project with a new component. You're building this new line of cars. There's a debrief, right? So when you do these debriefs on your training sessions or the event at the Arnold, there's all that knowledge, right? You write that down in your journal or whatever, planner, etc. Now you have knowledge for next time around. Hey, last time around, I waited until 30 days out to get my nutrition and recovery dialed in. Let's start that 6 months out, 9 months out, just getting enough food in.
yeah,
Everything's gonna be a lot easier. So it's that whole cycle. Like I knew that. I'm in my mid 40s. I live that corporate world, but I had some other coach tell me, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
yeah, whoops, damn it, you're right. So it's just funny how that takes someone else. What's what are some of your favorite events to watch when you're there? Because a lot of ways it's awesome. Also, other ways it's kind of a circus and a freak show. Any favorite events or things that you're like, oh man, that's cool?
Um, I mean, honestly, obviously, I enjoy watching the weightlifting, and that's what I watched the most when I was there.
Hmm.
I haven't been able to get in there to watch the strongman events. Like I didn't go and watch Thor lift because it was, I didn't go watch the deadlifts and stuff like that because it was during um, I think it was like what, Friday,
Hmm.
or when was it? I can't remember what day it was.
It's usually at night.
Yeah, you know, I didn't get to go and watch a lot of the events, the powerlifting events. Either I was at the Airbnb, relaxing, just hanging out, or I
Hmm.
was in uh, the weightlifting venue. So I didn't really get to do anything out into the actual expo until honestly Sunday. Um, the last day was the only time I got really went in there and went and checked things out. But I would have liked to go on and see the rogue stage with the weightlifters there.
That's cool.
I know Trevor Kim, who was on the stage. It would have been cool to go see him, but it was during it was early Friday, and I'm not staying. I'm not hanging out at the venue all day. I'm gonna be at the Airbnb laying down.
Yep.
What Kyle says, he's like get horizontal and eat.
Get horizontal.
So you know, I would have liked to go see those, but
Sure.
the deadlift, I would love to go see that. I would like to have gone and seen, the Arnold get up there and sit in a chair and talk, and Jocko see those guys get up there and talk about things. That would have been cool, but you know, you got things to do there. You got things to do. So
The blessing for me was that I came here to watch you specifically,
yeah,
but that's just a little bit more than 2 hours,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I'm not coaching anybody else. Kyle is coaching his ass off. He's got 16 athletes,
yeah,
which is
dude.
actually down. He had 21 qualify,
Yeah,
but 5 of them failed to register in time. And so they're running ragged.
yeah,
And I'm just kidding this candy store. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go watch amateur powerlifting.
yeah.
I'm going to watch our amateur strongman, the federation I used as the state chair. Oh, Mary Tyson over on the rogue stage,
Yeah.
Olympic lifter getting after it. So now I'm doing all this cool shit. And you're right. There's a panel of guests talking, and they're very, very real and accessible and great questions. And there's all these vendors inside the majority of the convention center. So there's all these vendors, and on the periphery of the vendors is where these different sections are that are sectioned off for the different events.
Yeah.
When you're walking through the vendors, but there's a whole bunch I love. But by far, the 4 times I've been there, I don't have any tie to animal supplements. I know they have good supplements. I love our Jocko supplements. I love NutriBio. Animal supplement, their setup has always been awesome. What they have is called the cage, as you know. It's like this big fence around a yard, but it's like 10, 12 feet high.
Yeah.
They section it off. They have outstanding equipment. And throughout the whole weekend, from Thursday to Sunday, at different time slots, they'll have invite only, awesome, awesome lifters coming in and doing heavy things.
Yeah.
And it might be a 1 rep max, or it might be a very heavy weight for as many reps as possible.
Yeah.
And if you watch pro wrestling, it's when those fans are banging on the cage.
Oh yeah.
Right? Fans are doing that.
Yeah.
Right? The last time I was there, it was insane. The people got rhabdo from it. It was all fucked up. These two gorillas are going 1v1 deadlift. And so, Lucas, you would do a deadlift, and then after you finish it, I have 30 seconds for me to do the exact same weight and get it done. And once I do it, then you go. And then once you do, I got another 30 seconds, then I go. And then it's like that over and over until someone quits. The weight was 600 pounds. These two gorillas each got over 60 reps. Took a couple hours. They both went to the hospital, hands shredded, skin, blood everywhere on the bar because they weren't cleaning up at that point because it was a big contest.
Yeah.
They were absolutely ruined. So that didn't happen this time, which is great. But they got this girl's doing 200 pounds circus dumbbell. This one lady was there. She was 195 pounds. She deadlifted 506 for 6. And these guys are just screaming. And they have a DJ. And I'm like, This is just one small piece of the Arnold while the other main competitions are going on. There's other vendors doing similar things. And I mean, you're walking around and you're just like, holy shit, man, it's nothing but testosterone, protein, adrenaline, steroids for some, right?
Yeah.
Energy, bright lights, and people just going nuts trying to lift something or do something crazy. So
you got some characters walking around that place too, man.
You do. Characters. All spandex, guys and girls, almost buck naked in some areas, walking around, showing it all off. Everything's enhanced on the men and women, just looking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Walking around. They're 3 people wide, even though they're 1 person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was very, very cool to watch? I watched the bodybuilding piece of the adaptive athletes that are in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So legs couldn't do anything. Yeah. And so just getting in and out of the chair is work. And it's all upper body. And every one of these fellas is jacked.
Yeah.
Just jacked. And the guy that won, he was in an accident several years back, spinal injury, legs never going to work again. And here he is at the Arnold competing, and winning.
Yeah.
World's strongest firefighter, fittest firefighter. People are doing, just awesome. Awesome. Do you meet anybody or run into anybody noteworthy?
I talked to Mary when I was in the back.
Okay.
I can't remember the Olympian's name that I talked to that was loading the bar with me, but she was cool. Loaded the bar back there. I didn't meet a whole lot of people, honestly.
Yeah, because you're busy working.
Yeah. But yeah, talked to Mary. She was cool.
I ran into Rebecca when she was on our podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about jacked.
Yeah.
Just jacked and super cool and approachable. Working for this apparel company called Gym Reapers. Everyone was just awesome. Saw Arnold walk by.
Yeah.
He has two levels of security.
Yo, yeah, you ain't gonna get
There's his
close to
own
that guy.
personal security around him, and then there's all the cops around that security.
Yeah.
Um,
Nobody's getting close to him.
Nowhere, nowhere. You know what's cool at Jocko's station? There's these lines, and everyone's getting free stuff.
Yeah.
You walk by, everyone's getting a free can or bottle of Celsius or whatever. But at Jocko's, they're giving away free stuff. And I see Chaz, my rep, cool dude, talking about a number of different things. And what I like about their approach is, hey, he goes, try these supplements. If you like them, let's talk. If you don't like
Yeah.
them, no bother. And there's no more pressure than that. So I say, hey, I know this other gym, they're not selling anything. Do you want me to make an intro? He goes, let me know. If you make an intro, and then I'll send them some supplements, and it's the same pitch. See if you like them or not. If you like them, then let's talk. And
Okay.
I like that approach, right? And I had my book with me and my planner because I was giving those away for people I was meeting. I wanted to talk to and network. And he goes, hey, you got those with you? I said, yeah. So I gave him one of each. He goes, I'm going to see Jocko later. Hopefully I can get it in his hand. So I saw Chaz the next day. He goes, yeah, I saw Jocko. I gave them both to him. He looked at him, and then, we'll see. I'm like, well, it's the same approach as your supplements here, Chaz. If you like some, maybe we'll talk. If not, then,
Yeah.
whatever. But
That's cool.
it was cool. It was cool. And one of his colleagues that he was just working with out in the Pentagon with the new Secretary of Defense, Bill Brown, was campaigning for the new Secretary of Defense. So Kenny was out there and Jocko was out there, all working together. Well, Bill Brown endorsed the book and his endorsements on the back. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
if he turns around the back of the book and sees that Bill Brown endorsed it, maybe he'll open a page. And
Maybe, yeah.
if he opens a page and it goes to the chapter on discipline, well, it starts off with discipline equals freedom. And I even say, this is the most outstanding phrase on discipline. I wish I came up with it. I didn't. I have to give credit to this other guy, Jocko. But so
Yeah.
who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
That's super cool though. That's
Yep.
super cool. Yeah. That's you never know.
So you finished bodybuilding a little while back and won.
Yeah.
People, hey, you want to make another run at this? You got great bellies of your muscles, blah blah blah. You should be doing this, and you're like, nah. So now you just finished the Arnold,
Yeah.
PR'd, lots of successes, lots of things you learned. Young, good coach, teammates. The question is it too early to even ask, what's next? Is there anything next for you as the athlete? Or you're taking a minute to think about that?
Um honestly, so I'm gonna take probably this week and relax and do some bro lifts and kind of, talk to Kyle and see what he thinks and kind of go from there. But, honestly, I think I keep going to talk. I left a lot on the table. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if I really dialed in, because I don't think I dialed in as much as I did for the bodybuilding show for the Olympic lifting meet. Um,
You
you
mean like
know,
the food and the prep outside of training?
yeah, because during the bodybuilding, I was way more, I was just super locked in for, I mean, it's everything I could, didn't mess up one time. You know, uh, Sleep was great, and Caitlin, my fiance, was a big part of that too. She helped me out through that process more than I think people realize. But you know, I think with Olympic lifting, if I think there's more to give and more to do in weightlifting. Immediately me and Kyle started talking about qualifying for AO finals and seeing what I can do there, and just what I'm just curious, like how much more can I do in weightlifting? I know I'm kind of getting old now, so my ceiling might not be as high. Um, I'm not sitting here trying to say I will be a international world's athlete caliber of person, but I still feel like there's a lot more to do with weightlifting. I really it sparked a lot of kind of sparked a lot of fire underneath me to continue to train for weightlifting. So I think I'm going to do this for a little bit while longer and kind of see, see where it goes and see what happens. Uh, because I missed a lot of years because I really loved it. While I was in college, wanted to continue to do it after college, and it just didn't happen the way I thought it would. So I missed a lot of years when it come to training for it. Talking like six years of outside of 6 months where I trained pretty consistently, and uh, when I lived in Illinois. Um, so yeah, I think weightlifting is gonna continue for a little while longer, and just gonna see what I can do maybe for a year. See how, what can I accomplish in a year's time. I started training for this back in um, May, so
Hmm.
no, June, somewhere June, July.
Yeah.
Um, so we're talking six,
Nine
six
months.
or however many months it's been. So,
Yep.
um, what can I do in a whole year? What could I be lifting at next year's Arnold?
Yep.
Could I do 130? Could I do 170? So, you know, I have 130 as a snatch number in my brain that I kind of want to push to hit, and I'm pretty close. I think I could probably add, you know, uh, 9 kilos to my snatch, and I could probably add another 10 kilos to my clean and jerk. So, um, I think that's the plan. I'm going to talk to Kyle and see what he says.
I like that you've taken some time to not think about it.
Yeah.
You get some times where you can just be quiet
Hmm.
in your head, sitting someplace,
Yeah.
hiking, get out in the woods, walk a dog, You do that a few times. Your mind can then be creative. It's going to come to you and how do you feel?
Yeah.
And is there an interest? Then there's some of the math, there's the science that goes behind it. And you talked over this with Kyle. I would be like, well, based on whatever your deadlift, squat, front and back squat numbers are, and what they could be, and what percentage of that is your clean and jerk and your snatch.
Yeah.
So, if you're an 800 squatter, you're going to be like, well, shit, I'm going to be able to clean and jerk four, right?
Yeah. Right.
There's some of the math that goes into it. So one is there the desire, then there's the math, like, what kind of potential do you have? And then
Yeah.
do you feel like doing the work and are you enjoying it? And as long as you are making the best version of yourself, and you have the support, and then you start adding the other lessons that you just incorporated, putting
Yeah.
that all together, then you're like, well, shoot,
Right.
you said you had, I don't know, 10, 15 pound kilo jump from the last meet. I think from a year from now, we could be talking 20 to 30 kilo jump. If you dial
Yeah.
in like that, I think there's that potential. There's always wild cards. Hey, I'm getting married, right?
Yeah.
Or there's injuries that happen,
Yeah.
right? So there's shit that happens. So, life happens. You know, Also, we didn't point this out. After you competed at the Arnold, I mean, not long later, I called you up and I said, "Hey, what are your numbers in powerlifting? Squat, bench, deadlift." And you told me, I said, "Hey, I need you to run over here and do this meet real quick." And you're like, "Why?" I said, "Well, you're still in college, and collegiate nationals is right around the corner. So having not trained at all for anything in strength, which is powerlifting, bad naming of it, but you qualified and then went to collegiate nationals and then scored a total there." And I was like, "This kid's just an athlete." I'm like, so I know back then you said, "Well, I didn't total at the Arnold." I'm like, "Well, you still did some things."
Yeah. Yeah. I remember talk about that is, I just did the Arnold, just got done training for it, and training for me back in the day was really stupid, really
Mm.
dumb, not very good. I look at some old videos and I wish somebody told me I was bad at weightlifting. And not even like you need to work on this. No, like you're actually bad at this stuff. You need to fix it or you're never gonna be good. I wish somebody was like just said that to me. You know, I went out there and I'm warming up and I'm doing some like goblet squats with a plate. I don't know if you remember, but like I blew out my knee.
Mm.
Like my knee just buckled underneath me, could barely like walk on it. And I mean my squat was such shit. It was like 425 squat,
Mm.
at a national meet. Like just not, competitive at all. I think I pulled five something. I benched maybe 275, but the the squat was so bad just because I was banged up, and I had to do a qualifying meet for the powerlifting, and then went and did the collegiates, and um, I had to figure out how to
Make it all
operate
happen.
after. I mean, I competed in uh, December, February, March, and April. Two qualifiers and one American Open and one collegiate nationals.
Right.
Um, Probably way too much competition to back to back in two different, you know,
Sure.
respected sports. But it was.
You're
I
in
do think
college now, and you're at the end of your career in college. You're like, fuck it, let's just go,
that's kind of what was
which
going
is
through my
fun.
brain was let's just go do it. And
Yeah,
I can always say I was at one point I was a competed nationally in
that's right.
powerlifting.
That's
So
right. Not for nothing. Shout out to those hooligans that you coach up at Northside. Those
yeah.
fellas, man, tell us that story because there's a bunch of high school crazies. They're sitting there and they're like one section of chairs over, and I hear them. I'm hearing when they called your name. I'm in the front row so I can record and see everything, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
let's
man.
let's go. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about those guys.
Those are my some of my athletes that I have at the school. Sometimes I probably not athletes, but those are the meatheads at the school.
Mm.
Those are um, the guys that love the weight lift. They love the weight room. Those are great group of kids. They're a little off the walls, a little crazy, very immature. Love those guys though. They great kids. They're all into the bodybuilding stuff right now. I mean they're always talking about their grams of protein. You know how every gym bro starts in high school. You
Oh
you
yeah,
saw them all, you know.
right.
But that's they're just so into that, and they love the weight room. I have a good relationship with them because I literally I did what they did in high school, and we talk about that, and I tell them my experiences, and um, you know, um, and they're asking me about the competition and all this and whatever, and they're like, dude, they're just like, we should go to that. They come back next day, they're all like, yeah, we got our tickets, we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there when you compete. And I was like, no, you guys are not. I'm like, no, for real, we got the fast passes. So they got their tickets, and they were like, we're gonna go out there, and they drove out. They drove out at like uh, midnight on midnight Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. Got there at 3. I think they slept in their car somewhere. All 6 of them
In one car.
in one car, slept
Oh
in their car.
God.
Um, they were at the Friday. They were at the venue from the second it opened until after I got done, which was around 8. And they're all they're asking me where I'm at, and they come up and they've done lost their voices. They're all tired, and you could tell they just been taking every caffeine,
Everything free.
every
All
shot of
supplements.
pre-workout, everything they got. They got their young LA bags and having the best time of their life. They're going to remember that for the rest of their life. But those guys are,
Don't forget the fathead.
oh yeah, they made a fat head. Uh, I think I was the only one
Yeah.
at the Arnold
Yeah.
out of all thousands of people there that had a fat head of themselves
On a stick.
on a stick, and they were walking around the whole venue with my face. They were walking around the venue with my face on a stick,
And an
signed by
autograph.
signed by Larry Wheels.
Larry
So
Wheels, my goodness.
they got the picture. They got a college headshot of me when I was playing football. They got a college headshot of me, and they got that thing blown up and got it signed by Larry Wheels. So they're walking around the venue with my face with Larry Wheels signed up, and uh, they. What I think is cool is be like, they got to see, they know me as a coach. They know me as Coach Lucas.
Hmm.
I'm the same every day. They know I'm into lifting. They know it's my thing. They know what they're doing is what I did. So I try to guide them the best I can, and tell them the mistakes I did and where they can go with it and where to be safe, that kind of stuff. But you know, they they got to see me as like an athlete. They got to see me as not Coach Lucas, but Lucas the athlete. What am I doing outside of my in my time? What am I doing? I'm a strength and conditioning coach that trains athletes all day. What am I doing to be an athlete? What am I doing to be, you know, a strength and conditioning professional that still does strength and conditioning?
Right.
This is what I do, and this is, you know, just because I work all the time, just because, I'm coaching doesn't mean I don't have, a life outside of it. This is my personal, journey. This is my experience. This is what I love to do, and I'm glad. I love that they got to see what I do and be a part. And I mean, honestly, they were a big part of it. Those guys bring their lunch down to the weight room. You know, those guys bring their lunch to the weight room and they hang out and they're always talking. They're always looking up, bodybuilding stuff, weightlifting stuff. They're so into it, and it's as goofy as they are, as energetic as they are, they love this stuff and they want to get into it. And you know, it's I didn't have a strength and conditioning coach like me. You know, I didn't have somebody that was doing these kinds of things, saying, "Hey, there's avenues, there's opportunities for you to do things outside of football or basketball or baseball. You can do these sports over here if you really
Sure.
wanted to. There's other things, and this is what you love to do, then spend your time doing it.
Yeah.
If this is what you love to do, don't go play a sport that you don't love because you're pressure or whatever. You know, just giving them advice and letting them know, there's things that they can do that's not traditional sports and stuff like that. So they got to see a big part of it, and they got to have one of a time of their life that they're never going to forget. So
That's fun.
um, it was super cool having. I think I might have been the only guy there, only coach or athlete there to have you know their students come and cheer them
Right.
on. So that was cool.
That's one of the best things about CrossFit, and
Yeah,
that you'll see so many different disciplines within CrossFit because it's so broad.
yeah,
It causes people to check out weightlifting, Highland Games, strongman, being a first responder, gymnastics, you name it. So exposing those kids early on to any kind of lifting or strength sport,
yeah.
man, I didn't know about this shit. I didn't
One
know about
kid,
this. I didn't know about this until I was in my 40 plus.
yeah,
Never even heard of Highland Games
yeah.
or weightlifting. So I was doing CrossFit at 36, 37.
Hmm.
So I didn't learn any of those things until late. That's why it makes me sick. But
Yeah.
those kids, like, that's super fun, super awesome for them.
That's what I told him too. Was like I didn't get into. I could do a pretty decent like untrained high school power clean in high school. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah, big
pretty, but
starfish.
yeah, it wasn't pretty, but like you know, they're asking me about like, well, you know, could we do this and be that strong? I'm like, yeah, yes. You start and you learn how to do it, and you do it for however long it takes. Yeah, every one of you have potential in this stuff. And I had a kid today. We had less teams today after school, and he came in and he one of the guys at the show. He came out and he wanted to do work on his clean and jerks. And so he's doing a couple reps, learning how to which he can do it actually pretty good without like any coaching. But I'm just coaching him up a little bit here and coaching him up there, and he's like, I kind of want to get into this. I want to because like he loved being at the weightlifting, loved watching the weightlifting, and he's the Monday after the Arnold, he's in there practicing weightlifting. You know,
Ah, it's fun.
so
Impact,
yeah,
impact. All right, so you take some time to figure out what's next,
yep,
and then next time I see you, we'll be back at it with our next guest.
yeah, man, this has been fun,
Yeah.
good time.
If you guys want to reach out, get a hold of Lucas or me, just info@athlete-builder.com. And I don't know if you heard or not, but the planner what comes out, which Lucas needed months ago, is now available. So it's on the website as well, and then on Amazon. So reach out if you have questions about that. But until next time, Lucas, congrats,
All right,
man!
guys,
Congrats on the weekend. Congrats on all the wins leading up to it. Congrats on the wins that day. All the good feelings, the support. You could tell that you were loved by a lot of people, and you went out and competed hard and top 10 out of 76. You had unfinished business and you came full circle, and it's something to be proud of. And I'm glad I work with you.
Well, man, I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
See you, man.